We have a lot of things going on this week related to the supernatural. Yeah, we had those UAP hearings in Congress, and then we also have a new seance horror film, Talk to Me. And I think the biggest question, bar none, raised during this week has been, do ghosts have foot fetishes? But that's not what we're here to talk about. We're here to talk about Danny and Michael Philippou's new film from A24, Talk to Me. It currently has a 95% on Rotten Tomatoes at the time of recording, and make no mistake that that's no easy feat. A lot of people have been calling this the perfect summer seance flick. And I've got to say that I like the film. I don't think that it is quite the success that a lot of people attribute to something like Hereditary, which has earned its cult classic status at this point. However, I do feel like there is a lot of good material here to kind of digest, and we're going to talk about some of it. It does act and function very much like a distant cousin to Hereditary, a lot of overlapping themes and a lot of cutesy camera tricks that work really, really well in a small indie horror film like this. And cutesy is not a negative thing either. There are a lot of really stunning practical effects that are used in this movie that are worth noting. I think the performances are solid, and everyone does their part in making sure that people have a good time at the movie theater. It follows a group of friends who basically use this like embalmed hand to talk to the dead. And frankly, it's frightening. There is some really unique and interesting imagery that is found during those seance sessions. And they all basically like get high from doing this. So it's kind of like a rush of energy. And I don't know if they're playing on the fact that they're getting the energy from the spirits themselves or that the experience is just exhilarating, but there's a lot of gray there that we can kind of work through as a media audience and kind of sift through what the filmmakers are telling us. There are noticeable themes of grief and resentment, something that is akin to Hereditary and to Midsommar. And again, that's why it kind of exists as kind of almost this distant cousin. I don't think structurally that the film really builds that well into its final act. I think it loses a lot of steam, and it has this kind of weight of self-importance that I don't think should have been present in the movie, and certainly detracted me from enjoying it as much as I potentially could have. It's not that the themes are heavy-handed at all. I think the themes are really delicately handled, and the performances around them are somewhat intriguing. However, they might have leaned a little too much into that. Some of the more tender moments that don't quite connect as well with the audience as I would have hoped. While I enjoy the ending, it certainly is kind of tropey for this genre even, and we've seen a lot of horror movies that do weird, wacky things, and I didn't want them to necessarily go in that direction, but I also didn't want them to do something that was ultimately very, very predictable, which they did. I think what surprised me the most about Talk to Me, though, is how the filmmakers approach comedy. This is a funny film, and so many people, if you go with a group of friends, are going to enjoy what is presented to us on the screen. There was a lot of laughter, a lot of freaking out of my screening, and ultimately it seemed as if people had a really good time, myself included. Danny and Michael Philippou direct the hell out of this film. I mean, truly, I am excited and eagerly anticipating their next project, because if they continue to explore and dissect this genre in particular, I think that there's a lot to be discovered from both their filmmaking technique and their perspective. While I had a really good time at the movie theater, it didn't quite live up to my expectations, and maybe a lot of that had to do with the overwhelmingly positive reviews and reactions that the film had been getting prior to its wide release. But I want to know what you think. Are you planning to see Talk to Me this weekend in theaters? If you have already seen it, let me know what you think down in the comments below, and we will see you in the next video.